Idaho inmates are now threatening to, quote, butt fuck Bryan Kohberger in prison, as many of you may already know and have seen the reports breaking and headlines coming out over the past 2 or so days. And this is causing Bryan Kohberger to beg and cry for a transfer out of that cell block. And not only that, Bryan's claiming that inmates are threatening to aggressively lick his little booty hole as well. I'm serious. So all of this has Bryan terrified. Or does it? As someone who recently served 10 years in state prison myself, allow me to debunk these ridiculous claims and explain the tactical reasoning why Kohberger is doing this and filing these reports and grievances in the prison. So, let's get started. So let me start with just showing you the reports in case anyone here hadn't seen them, and just to set, the stage here for what we're discussing. But I want to remind you, when this all started, as far as his trouble in prison, the big headline was Kohberger has said inmates are simply harassing him verbally through the vent. That's it. The prison later confirmed the inmates are not harassing him. He filed a report saying they were. But after our investigation, we've determined they aren't. And actually, Kohberger just doesn't realize these are just guys in prison, trying to communicate with you. They bust your chops a little bit. They pull your leg. They yank your chain. They give you a little noogie or two. It's guy stuff, basically. And it is. And that's what I explained in thorough detail. Now, the problem is, and I also explained this in a more recent video after that, once he filed that, at first it was that, but once he decided to file an official grievance incident report and specifically name other inmates and try to get them in trouble for his own benefit, because at the end of the day, he's not worried about that inmate doing anything to him. He's seizing the moment and capitalizing on, this guy's busted my chops a little bit. I'll make it sound much more serious and threatening than it is, and use that on paperwork, official paperwork, to finagle my way into a more desirable location. In his opinion, it's a more desirable location. I don't know why he thinks B block, whereas that's, where he asked the staff to rehouse him to instead of J block. Don't know what's so great about B block. Maybe E for Bryan. I don't, who knows? But he wants to go to B block, and, he's trying to maneuver himself around this prison the way that many inmates do in county jail. What these new, fresh inmates who have never been to prison before, who are coming from county jail, don't realize is it is a major change from jail to prison. And you can't do the same things you did. And the same things don't work, because those things that you think you're thinking of for the first time have been done for decades. And staff is already caught on to them long ago, and they have ways of, they have BS detectors built into them. Okay. It's part of their training, honestly. So you're not doing anything profound. You're not super smart. You're not outsmarting the prison by trying to file this grievance and use that as a reason. Buddy, this ain't, we're not in Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. Everybody, hey, will you be my neighbor? We're not in, this ain't Reading Rainbow. Everybody grab a book and get in the circle. Let's flip to page 1. This ain't PBS. Okay. We're not joining hands and doing Ring Around the Rosie. This is prison, buddy. You're complaining that people are saying mean things that you don't appreciate? Big whoop. We don't care. Everyone here is killers and awful people who have done unspeakable things. They're being really mean. They yelled something through the vent, and I don't much appreciate it. I don't care. Big whoop. And you'll see here, The staff responded and said, "Hey, buddy, like, I don't know why you think B block would be any better. You're probably going to experience the same thing because guess what? That's just prison. That's just inmates and how they talk to people, especially weird people who are doing what you're doing." He wasn't going to be harassed truly. And when I say harassed, I mean like, really gunning for him and like actually trying to scare him, intimidate him, and put fear into him. The inmates weren't going to do that until he did some stupid crap by filing this report. And of course, it's Kohberger. And when Kohberger sneezes, the news knows. And so everyone heard about this, including the inmates, the staff. The staff told the inmates, and everyone knows. And so now everyone knows Kohberger just did one of the worst things you can do in prison. Okay, so that's your quick recap. You do something like that, you file a report. Now it's okay. Now we're not at summer camp, just elbowing you in the ribs a little bit just to see if you're one of us and you're cool and we can talk. We got to give you a little bit of haze and break you in. Seriously, that's how it goes. You're testing your limits, fellas. You know what I'm talking about. It's not just prison. Kohberger goes and does the most stupid thing you could do. And so he has ruined, and I've made videos, hey, the Aryan Knights may want to recruit him. He may have gangs wanting to recruit him. He may have other people, influential people, want to recruit him and do this. I always said, as long as he goes in there, stays quiet, stays composed, keeps to himself, doesn't rock the boat, an opportunity to find power and influence and not dangerous to him, but to others, dangerous allies. The opportunity will present itself. They will approach you, and you could very well link up with very powerful people and be one yourself in due time if you don't go in there and just start. I always said, I can never rule out that an inmate will just go in there and like spit in some guy's eye and stamp on his foot and call him a cuss word. I mean, obviously, if you do that, you just screwed up. He would have been better off doing that than what he did. He just wrote a straight snitch form. He filed a job application to become a snitch, basically, and sent it right to the staff and named other inmates who weren't even really doing anything to him for his own benefit. He doesn't realize what he just did to his reputation, his name. Everyone's looking just like we're looking. What's going to happen to Kohberger? Everyone has opinions and speculation, but how is he really going to be when he gets in there? What is he going to act like? I don't know. He might be all right. He just screwed it up. He just revealed to the world that he's an idiot. And now I would not bet my bottom dollar or even a penny that he's going to be okay in prison because he has screwed it up big time in record time. I've never seen someone, even a non-famous person, come to prison that quick and screw it up that hard. He screwed it up and he didn't even have to because there wasn't even a problem. So anyways, let's look at these reports. Sorry, I said it would be quick, but it turned out to be like 7 minutes. But anyways, I had to explain that. Let's get into the reports. So here's Bryan, and my Lord, what a task it is to just read this. Brother, are you in kindergarten? I mean, he's like that first grader who eats crayons. I mean, that your handwriting is giving. I pump the Germex bottle into the palm of my hand and then lick it. Like what? He says, as I continue the SPI phase, I wish to discuss if I may be transferred to another ad seg setting, such as B block. Not engaging in any of the recent flooding/striking. So what is flooding and striking? Flooding. See, and I see a lot of media trying to say, oh, they're flooding their cells to torment Kohberger. Listen, flooding, this is actually why Kohberger has it right. This is why he has flooding/striking, because it almost goes hand in hand. It's like what they're doing is a hunger strike, and then they're flooding their cells, probably to protest what the inmates feel is an unjust locked down. So even though they're only let out for a certain amount of time every day, maybe recently they haven't been getting that very small amount of time out for whatever the staff says is a disciplinary reason for something that happened in that dorm with one inmate or more inmates. Who knows? I don't know. But that's a very common thing in prison. Inmates will be like, we are being oppressed and we have to rise up, and they'll go on a hunger strike. And then they'll also flood their cells because they have to let inmates out of their cells if they flood them. And so that's kind of a thing where, inmates will be yelling through the doors and like rallying. Probably the majority of the inmates are going to work together and go on a strike. There's some real hungry boys back there who are not going to go on a hunger strike, and they're just going to be quiet and not say anything, and they'll politely accept their food tray and eat it and just not participate in the conversation. They're not going to flood their cell. They don't want to be a part of that. And Kohberger's one of them. But the majority is probably flooding their cell, and they're all working together. That's how you basically do a protest in prison. You flood your cell every day, as many times as you can a day. You go on a hunger strike, because once you go on a hunger strike, that kind of has to officially be reported. And it's not that they think the guards care whether they fill their bellies or not. It's the fact that they know if a hunger strike is happening, they kind of have to report that to higher ups. And that's a tactic they use to get the attention of higher ups, so that higher ups come to the prison and they can talk to them. And then they try to expose whatever the real injustice that the inmates feel, whether they're right or wrong, is currently going on. And so Kohberger, something like that is happening with Kohberger, and he's fed up. There's probably, Mr. Hypochondriac, there's water leaking into his cell. Because that's, if the cell 1 or 2 rooms down from you floods their cell, well, it's going to eventually go out of their door crack, and it's just going to follow the path, and it's going to go down and like leak into your cell. And now you got a little bit of toilet water in your room, and Bryan Kohberger don't like that. Like, oh my gosh. Oh. Bryan does not want toilet water in his room, so he is filing complaints left and right. He says, I have not participated in the flooding or striking, as well as being subject to minute-by-minute verbal threats. Really? Minute by minute? So literally every minute of your waking life in prison, someone's made verbal threats. Give me a break. You sound ridiculous. Nobody's spending all their time doing that. J-Block is an environment that I wish to transfer from. If possible, I request transfer to B-Block immediately. I wish to speak with you soon. And here's what they said back. Here's what the staff said. I love it. They said, Mr. Kohberger, on any tier at IMSI, which is where he's at, there are sometimes disruptions to operations such as residents flooding. On J2, it is a relatively rare occurrence, and J2 is generally a fairly calm and quieter tier. I do not think that B-Block would be any better for you. Give it some time. Honestly, the staff is like telling them the truth. Like, nobody knows better. I mean, I would say nobody knows better than the staff, but there's probably inmates who have been there 20 years and they would know better than the staff. The staff might have been there 5 years. I mean, but the point is Bryan doesn't know, and you ain't been there long enough to know. And I mean, at least all the staff knows better than you, and they're telling you. I mean, some days I get assigned to work your dorm, your cell block, and then other days I get assigned to work A, B, C, D, E. I mean, I kind of got a good feel of all the cell blocks. Buddy, I can tell you now, if you're upset that there's a little bit of flooding going on in J Block, and maybe someone like said, hey, you stink, Kohberger, through the vents, yeah, it's, well, I can vouch, I can kind of guarantee it's, B Block ain't the heaven on earth you're looking for. I mean, there's a lot of that going on there too. And they even say actually J Block is kind of more of the, like that's one of the more calm cell blocks. Like you're actually in kind of one of the better, because I don't believe the staff would immediately place him in the worst cell block. And when I say the worst, I don't mean highest custody, highest security. I mean every group of jail staff who works at a prison knows what the 1, 2, 3rd, 4th, and 5th and beyond, ranking of currently what the worst, most dangerous and awful cell blocks are based upon. And that all, it's not because it's labeled cell block J and it ain't because it's labeled cell block B. It's about what inmates are in there at any given time. A handful of nefarious, just god-awful inmates could be in cell block B for 3 months, and then for whatever reason, they get transferred, and new guys come in, and they're very pleasant, and they just want to be alone, and they just want to read books and do push-ups, and there's no trouble. All of a sudden, B block just went from the most awful, just notorious dorm within a matter of 2 weeks to the best and most calm and pleasant. So they know kind of what's going on. They're telling Kohberger, hey, listen, buddy, trust me. I don't think you're going to find what you're looking for in B block. Just, actually J block ain't even that bad. And if you think it's that bad, then buddy, oh boy, do you have a lot of getting used to, coming your way, because it's not even that bad. Like you're actually freaking out over nothing. And I can confirm, I've been there 10 years. I've seen all this crap, dude. A little bit of flooding, like, it's not even directed at you. Relax, doofus. Now, in the next thing here, this is circled as a grievance. I can tell you now, I know exactly what a grievance is. A grievance is basically, I'm an inmate and I'm complaining about something. This isn't this isn't an incident report. Like, something actual, like someone did something to me. A grievance is literally like a complaint that no one cares about, and you're lucky if it even gets read. Let's be honest, in prison. So here's Kohberger. He files it, and he says, I have on several occasions not received all items of food on my tray. I addressed this during service and have yet to receive any replacements. In fact, the kitchen is not even called. The policy book confirms items missing, which are pointed out at the time of the service, will be replaced. I wish to, without exception, receive these replacements. And then he says, I've also tried to solve this problem informally by addressing the issue with the staff at the time of meal service. And then it says, I suggest the following solution for the problem. I wish for the items to be called for and items replaced when this occurs. The nutritional standard is not being upheld unless I something my full tray. What does that say? Receive? Unless I receive my full tray. Yeah. Here's the thing, buddy. Crap happens, okay? I know that they gave you a little pamphlet and a little terms and conditions and a rule book and a policy book. They legally have to do that. Here's the policy of the prison. But the fact of the matter is, who cares? You can complain. You can say this. You can say that. No one cares. No one hears you. It doesn't matter. No one's coming to save you. No one's coming to change anything. I'm supposed to get a biscuit, 2 eggs, and a slot of grits on my tray. There was only 1 egg instead of 2. No one cares, and you're not getting an extra egg, doofus. You're not getting one. Too bad, so sad. It's prison. And honestly, like some of the biggest, like, I feel like there's always something, like, whether it's like in sports or in the military, which I'm not ever really, been a big prominent member of a sports team, or I've definitely never been in the military, but, from what I hear, it's kind of the same thing. When a new guy comes, it just like, you don't want to be the naive, green to reality new guy because he just looks silly. And there are ways and there are things that new guys do to kind of mark themselves as that guy. This is one of them. Coming in here and complaining about things that are just like, the veterans and just like almost every inmate, honestly, not even the veterans, just anyone who's been there if you've been there 6 months, you already know this is just what it is and it ain't going to change. Get used to it. It sucks here. That's why it's prison. That's why it's a punishment. Oh, do they follow their own? Yeah, they have it on their websites and in their terms and conditions. Yes, we do this, and this for the inmates. They probably don't do any of that in reality. And if you want to complain, you're not doing what you said. Who cares? That's for the public to see and be like, oh, they're doing good at that. They're doing the right thing at that prison. They are crapping on you at that prison. And that's just for show. And if you don't realize that, you're an idiot. I mean, you look like a clown. And so if you're actually writing reports complaining, oh, one of my eggs was missing. Oh, my biscuit was missing this morning. Oh, I was supposed to get a biscuit and I only got one slice of white bread. Oh, I was supposed to get milk, but I got, water. Dude, nobody cares. You're damn right. Nobody's got to. Hey, buddy, I'm supposed to have a biscuit here. Can you go and do a whole big thing that takes like 20 minutes to go get just me specifically, one inmate out of 1,000, one biscuit that I'm missing? No, we're not doing that. And you know why? You know who ruined the ability to tell a staff member, hey, I'm missing an item. I'm genuinely missing an item on my tray. Can you please go get it for me? You know who ruined that? The inmates. Because you know what they do? They're so greedy and so nasty and so slick and just grimy. What they do is they get their tray and it has everything it's supposed to have on it. And as soon as they get the tray, they'll kind of like David Blaine or like a magician, they'll kind of like sleight of hand, like cup an egg or a biscuit or just whatever they can. They'll cup it in their hand and they'll just like throw it to the side. You're getting fed through a slot and stuff. You can just throw it over there and the officer can't see, and you can just or just put it in your pocket or just whatever, They'll do that and be like, oh man, hey, whoa, where's my biscuit at? They just put the biscuit down their pants and tuck their pants into their socks, to preserve the biscuit. That worked for a little bit, but, prisons around the world, or at least around America, caught on pretty quick and realized, everything's there. Inmates are just doing that to get extra because they are greedy and they want more. They have everything they're supposed to get, and they will, as soon as they get their tray, they'll hurry up and grab something and throw it down their pants or hide it and be like, whoa, I'm missing something to get extra. And that did work, but then they caught on. And so now they're just like, oh, well, I'll call up to the kitchen and see, how dare they make that mistake, Inmate McGee? I'll see what's going on. And like Kohberger said, nobody ever calls. No one ever cares because they already know, or they assume they know. And maybe Kohberger wasn't hiding anything. Maybe they really did forget it. But you got to understand, they run out of ingredients. They run out of stuff. Everyone making the food is also an inmate. They get lazy. They don't feel like working. I mean, they're not getting paid. They're just working. Sometimes they don't want to, I don't feel like making biscuits this morning. Nobody's getting a biscuit. It is what it is, and nothing ever comes from it. So, you can complain all you want. Nothing's going to happen. You're not going to get compensated for that little piece of food that you missed out on. Finally, let's move to this one. He says, this is an incident report. Bryan Kohberger submitted a concern form stating he has been subject to threats and harassment, recently escalating to overt sexually violent threats / statements. Kohberger stated a resident that goes by Peru, a prison nickname, I'm sure, told him, I'll butt fuck you. Kohberger also stated an unknown resident of Tier 1 of J-Block said the only ass we'll be eating is Kohberger's. Kohberger stated that Officer Signoria was present for the comment made by Peru. Due to Officer Signoria being on B nights, an interview could not be conducted to attempt to corroborate the allegation. Now, on August 7th, Officer Signoria submitted information reporting an information report outlining his involvement of the alleged incident. Officer Signoria recalls vulgar language being used and directed towards Kohberger, but could not identify who said what. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure he didn't know who that was. The allegation is substantiated, but due to no aggressor being able to be positively identified, and Kohberger saying he feels safe to remain on Tier 2 in J-Block, no further actions were taken. Listen, if people are yelling through the vent, here's what happened. People were yelling through the vent. Kohberger filed a report saying, hey, people are harassing me. The word got out that Kohberger basically tried to get them in trouble and say, hey, these people are harassing me. And so they heard that and were like, okay, now we're really going to harass you. And you know, they settled, and even still, they're not really harassing him. They're saying, I'll butt fuck you. And the only butt we'll be licking is Kohberger's. I get, you know, people hate Kohberger. I do too. They don't like him for what he did. I do too. And people love to like celebrate and run with a narrative like, oh, inmates are like giving him hell. I get it. You know, you really want to believe that, but the fact is they're not. And I mean, let's just put ourselves there for a second. The only ass we'll be licking tonight is Kohberger's. How do you think that sentence came up in a conversation? There were probably several guys talking about their baby mamas and their girls and blah, blah, blah. And maybe their baby mama didn't answer. And, you know, oh man, I tried to tell her, like, when I get out, I'm going to lick her ass and I'm going to fucking, you know, I'm going to do this and just blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you know, when a guy chimes in, well, because you still got 3 years left. So I tell you, the only ass you're going to be licking is Kohberger's, you know, and they're going to choose him as the butt of the joke because Kohberger refuses to respond. He refuses to socialize. He refuses to participate in good old fashioned, just, you know, a couple fellows shooting the crap conversation. And he has made himself a target of bullying. It's not even, they're just, it's like schoolyard bullying because you wrote a report on these people. So now, do you think these guys are actually like plotting and planning for their moment to where they can like run up on Kohberger, drop to their knees, and like slide in between his ankles, spread his cheeks, and like get their tongue going? Come on, give me a break. Do you see what this is? They're just giving him crap. I mean, they were giving him a little crap, and they wanted him to be able to take it. And then, hey, you know what? You're pretty cool. Yeah. So tell us about yourself. Let's get acquainted. Let's fucking talk. We're all fucking criminals. Let's talk. Kohberger like just went way out in left field, filed a snitch report, got labeled a snitch, and labeled all types of things that come along with that. And so then people were like, oh, well, he deserves no respect. So we'll just, you know, they're not even really threatening him. I mean, I know, oh, we're going to butt fuck you. We're going to, if they even said that, let's be real. You know, Kohberger's trying to get to B block by any means necessary. I mean, who knows if they even said that, but if they did, it's like, you know, dude, I guarantee you the context was just like, you know, now, well, we can kind of shit on this guy. No one's actually going to do that. You can't do that in prison anymore. I think movies have given this narrative that like assault takes place in prison. It probably used to, but in 2025, it doesn't anymore. Everyone in prison is homophobic. Everyone's like, so if you're not in a gang, you're friends with someone in a gang. Everything gang related. I was in a gang. Everything like in every gang, they have a rule. You're not allowed to participate in homosexual activity. So it's very homophobic all throughout all prisons in America. And so you cannot be going up and like actually doing that to somebody because you will get stabbed, maybe to death. By your own gang. And so everyone is like, They are. Even if you are, even if you do have those curiosities and tendencies, they will not act on them because, or some do, thinking they won't get found out. And then, the gay inmates, they can't help but like gossip and like, brag. I don't know what it is, but they like love to brag and like expose the inmates who have done stuff with them. And yeah, it always results in them getting like their throat slit and just like stabbed up and stuff. So, they're nothing like, when they're saying that to him, they're just joking. Bryan's a white boy. He's a silly guy from the suburbs. He's not like us. He ain't from the hood. We're just messing with him. We're just saying, they're just saying stuff, That's really what's going on. But maybe Bryan believes it and he's genuinely scared. If so, great. He deserves to be scared. But honestly, I don't think he is. And I think he knows what he's doing in that aspect, but he doesn't know what he's doing in the sense of, you can't just say, oh, inmates are threatening me and being mean to me. I need to be, I need to be given special treatment and put exactly where I want to be. Buddy, everyone's mean to everyone. It's prison. Nobody wants to be there. I didn't sign up to be around, 40, 50, 60-year-old grown men. No one wants to be there. No one wants to be living around you. No one wants to smell your dookie when you crap in the toilet. No one wants to be there. They're going to be mean, especially when you do stuff like you did. So Kohberger, he has failed in what was going to be very likely that he could be a prominent, valuable, influential, and even powerful inmate within 3 to 4 years. He's failed. Off top immediately, I'm a little surprised that he did that so quick. But now that I see that and I look at it, I'm like, he's one of these guys who thinks like, if you worked with him at a job, he'd be going to HR. You get what I'm saying? He'd be going to HR about everything, not even realizing HR isn't there to help you. They are there to save the company, and they will punish you before they help you just for reporting it. So, it's the same thing. Like Kohberger doesn't realize all this paperwork, these reports. It doesn't work, and you just screwed yourself. And the inmates know. And now you're a doofus, you're a nerd, you're a lame, you're a snitch, you're a piece of crap, you're a Karen, you're a Marin, you're a do not even be cool with this guy. You've ruined everything that quick. And you know what? I can't say I'm mad about that, but I am a little surprised. As a guy who struck me as someone who would go into an environment, a new world, a new place with new people, someone who everything given to me, I thought he would just be be quiet, blend in, back up into the bushes and just peek and observe, analyze, take in information, figure things out, figure people out. And then come out and start socializing and figure, you figured out like kind of the path you need to take. He just went right in there and did the dumbest thing you could ever think of. So, hey, there you go. Other than that, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it gave you some insight. And there's my opinion and assessment. And honestly, now that he's done this, we'll not be surprised if we will just continuously see things about Bryan being just treated like a doofus on the recess yard of fifth grade. He's done it. Doofus. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see y'all next time.